Flower Truth is an item that used to be one of the best weapons for mid-game dungeons because of its cheap cost and high damage output. However, due to the nerfs that admins made to it last year, no one really seems to use it anymore. So in this video, I'll be going over to Flower Truth in its current state to see how good of a weapon it really is in the current meta. To start off, I'm going to be going over all the nerfs that admins made to the Flower Truth that essentially made it fall off. The main big change that was nerfed was to the Flower Truth's ability. If you don't know, the Flower Truth's ability used to use 10% of the user's mana before casting a flower and ricochet off 3 nearby mobs, with the flower's damage being multiplied each time it hit a mob. However, the admins changed it so the ability would consume 10% of the user's health instead of mana, which made its ability a lot weaker, since now it cannot be spammed nearly as much as you could before. The other big change that admins made was adding a requirement of having a 4-6 completion in order to use the weapon. The Flower Truth used to have 0 requirements prior to this change, which is really good for early and mid-game players, since you can use it for the dungeon floors before 4-6 and also use it outside of dungeons even if you haven't touched dungeons at all. But now, that's just not possible because of the requirement. Despite these changes, I still did a few tests to see how useful the Flower Truth really is. I first started by comparing the Flower Truth's damage with the Live Dagger, and as you can see here, my Live Dagger does around 250 to 270k damage, and my Flower Truth does about the same amount. However, obviously the Live Dagger has an extra 50% attack speed, which means it would be out damaging the Flower Truth significantly in melee. But how does the Flower Truth do in dungeons? Well, I do admit, it is actually quite decent. Combined with the healing wand and zombie sword, you are able to actually spam the ability quite a lot, which makes clearing really easy, assuming you do enough damage to one-tap all the mobs. However, the problem is, by the time you're running F6s, you probably already have something stronger than a Flower Truth, like a Juju short belt for instance, which is just better in both DPS and clear. So I would only really recommend using the Flower Truth if you don't have a Juju short belt and are still running low dungeon floors, since by the time you reach F7, the Flower Truth just becomes unviable compared to other high DPS weapons. So how good is the Flower Truth right now? Well, personally, I think it needs a buff, because at the moment, the Flower Truth is just not strong enough to compete with weapons like the Live Dagger or Juju short belt on floors like F6 and F7. The best solution in my opinion would be to just remove the requirement and allow the Flower Truth to be used at all phases of the game, since the Flower Truth was a lot better when you could just buy it without having to grind dungeons. But considering it's been over a year since the Flower Truth got nerfed, I doubt the admins will go back and revert it. The final rating I'll give the Flower Truth on the usefulness scale is a 3 out of 10, because while it is a solid weapon, it's just not viable enough at the stage of the game where you obtain it.